Okay. We are now live.
Terrific. So welcome to the Racial Profiling Committee Ad Hoc. We are delighted to continue discussion so that we can begin to wrap up this phenomenal policy update. And I see that we have Deacon Reginald Lyles, Captain Hubbard, myself, and our Chief of Staff, Micah Montgomery. And with that,
And you have Commissioner Garcia Acosta as well.
oh, didn't see his name, snuck in there on me. Thank you. Vice Chair Garcia Acosta, welcome.
Yes, indeed.
And so I think I'm having a few issues, and I believe that Chair Peterson is having some Zoom issues. So I'm going to ask Micah to call out when hands go up, because I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to see them. That said, unless we have any announcements or statements, I would like to go straight to, do I keep promoting you? Captain Hubbard or Lieutenant Hubbard? You had so many titles.
Yeah, I know, Lieutenant.
Okay. I just, I prefer to promote than demote. And I really want to see you a deputy police chief soon, but we'll let things, run their course.
Thank you.
If you can provide us an update or, take us from our last meeting and where we are this meeting.
Certainly. Hello, everyone. I went back and reviewed two additional things. The first one was I went back to the policy because it's been a minute since I opened it and looked at it, and I sent you all an update. Not a lot of changes, but on page 15 of 19, I changed the evaluation and accountability. Before it was pretty generic, where it talked about how, in accordance with another policy, we do audits, the audit of the policy, and we report back to the chief of police. But I wanted to add in there what we do with them. So if there were particular findings to the audit, then it may include the revision of the policy, enhancing training programs, and implementing disciplinary measures for noncompliance. So it basically gives us some type of feedback loop. And also it ensures that it remains relevant and effective to best practices. And then I don't know how I missed this before, but I went to the glossary and I added new definitions, or a definition to bias, also implicit bias, and finally procedural justice. So those are the major changes that I made to the policy, including some grammar cleanup. As of today, I do not know if the chief has reviewed this yet. I think the next step, is probably just sitting down with him if we want.
So I'll set up a meeting.
Yeah.
But I'll remind him that we sent it to him a month ago, and we really do need to move forward.
Certainly. And after this meeting, I'll send it to him again, and I am going to see him tomorrow morning, so provide him a gentle reminder. I suspect that because the monitoring team is going to do a virtual site visit next week, and one of the agendized items which is reoccurring as we talk about policies, and this is the first one I'm going to bring up as the top of the list of soon to be published, but something we've been working on for the past few months. So
excellent. Now, since the last meeting, has Dr. Everhart or Darlene, have anybody provided any feedback on the lesson plans?
No, and that's probably my fault, because I was seeing if we had any as a team had any edits to it, and I will send it. I will send them the updated version, because I did make some updates to the other lesson plan too.
Okay, so Lieutenant Hubbard, I probably should have reached out to you between the last meeting and this meeting to give you guidance on that. I believe that, it was our goal to be completed with this in early August. It is now August 7th.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fair to send it to them and rush them.
Right.
But I don't know that we're in any other position. So what I want to make sure of as you walk through the lesson plan, and 2 weeks ago when we went through it, and forgive me, I've been traveling. Did you actually send it to us to review?
Yeah, I'm getting my emails mixed up. I know I sent it again today, but I'm not sure if I sent it the last time.
Okay, so
what,
it
2
could
weeks
be, yeah, so it could be that we have a short meeting today. And perhaps, dependent upon the will of the ad hoc, we'll go through any edits because I didn't see it today, so I don't have any review. But I would like to ensure that our next meeting, which should be the 21st, Micah, am I getting my dates correct?
Give me 1 sec. Sorry, getting off mute. It will be the 21st. You are correct.
Okay, so Lieutenant Hubbard, if you can go ahead and send both to Darlene and Jennifer, as well as the chief. I will follow up with the chief directly, but I'll also ask Darlene to prioritize her review in advance of the 21st. And I'm hoping that since it's more appropriate for you to engage Dr. Everhart, that you can do the same and see if that is a realistic time frame for them. I would like to transition to our review of the discipline matrix after the 21st.
Okay.
Are there any comments about this timing situation from the rest of the ad hoc members?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, I'm okay with it too. Sure.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Yeah, I think this has been a sensational series of conversations and really appreciate the quality of the work that we have done, primarily led and coordinated by Lieutenant Hubbard. But now we need to wrap it up. And I'm glad that, you, Lieutenant, took some time because it's always, fresh eyes after you wait a little while. So if you can walk us through the edits or potential edits that you've done so that we can add anything so that, like you said, you're providing the most updated version of these documents to those three entities that we need feedback from.
Okay.
Lieutenant? Oh, okay.
I'm here. I'm trying to, Zoom is not working for me well either today. I'm trying to share my screen and it's just not showing up here. Let's see. Let me open up the file first.
Well, if you're unable to do that, and those of us can be in Zoom and be in our email, perhaps we can track it that way. I mean, do your best, but because otherwise I just don't want to, waste anybody's time. Oh, I'm sorry. So for the person in the chat, what is being edited is the lesson plan that is going to correspond to the updated racial profiling policy, as well as, so we have 3 products that we've been working on. The update to the actual policy, our cultural accountability statement, and then a lesson plan and training module that speaks to how this policy and its additional pieces is going to be trained for new officers and updating current officers. And if you have anything to add to that, Lieutenant, please do. And we welcome you. And Dan, you?
And you'll
Okay.
and also Risa is on.
Okay,
She's on.
thank you very much.
Lieutenant Hubbard, I have your emails. I could try to open them for you if you like.
Yeah,
do you-
please. That would be great. Thank you. And just to clarify, the quiz and the training manual / lesson plan that I sent today, the first email, there's been no updates to that. I actually changed it from a lesson plan to a training manual because it's 30 pages long, and I wanted it to be more accurate of what that is. There's actually 2 lesson plans. So the second email I sent was an update to the lesson plan to the specific policy in question. And the only change I made to that, I put it in the body of the email, is I actually put real life examples of racial profiling. So we can go over those in case you have any more to add. But I found those to be interesting cases to talk about.
Now, Lieutenant, should we give ourselves the assignment to take the quiz
I
for the
took
next meeting? Oh, you already took it.
Yeah,
So
I
what
thought
did
it was
you think about
interesting.
that,
I wanted to
Deacon Lyles?
compliment him. I wanted to compliment him on the quiz. I thought it was nice. He highlighted the right answer, and I didn't. I missed a few, but not many.
Okay, well, of course you wouldn't, but thank you and appreciate your earnest in trying to address that. I'll make sure that I take it, and Vice Chair, if you could make a commitment to take it between now and the 21st, and then we'll also ask the chair as well to do it. And for those of you listening, we could put the quiz maybe in the chat, and then they could take it as well.
Okay. So which one
I
would
know
you
you-
like to pull up, Lieutenant Hubbard? Do you want the
I
training
think-
manual?
The second email, please, the policy update and the update to the lesson plan where I put,
This one?
yeah, if you scroll to the very bottom, I highlighted the big changes. So it's really at the end.
Okay. Here we are.
Great. So that's the first one that I just mentioned, evaluation and accountability. I'll let you all read that.
For the
Is it large
listening
enough?
audience. Yes, thank you. For the listening audience, Lieutenant, would you mind just reading it?
Sure. Pursuant to the provisions of DGO, that's Department General Order N12, Departmental Audits and Inspections, the OIA, which is the Office of Internal Accountability, shall conduct annual reviews and audits of the department's data collection efforts to ensure compliance with the settlement agreement. The OIA shall report all findings to the Chief of Police. Based on these findings, the OPD will take corrective actions as necessary. This may include revising policies, enhancing training programs, and implementing disciplinary measures for noncompliance. The policy will be regularly reviewed and updated based on audit results, feedback, and evolving best practices, ensuring it remains relevant and effective. The OPD will engage with external experts and organizations specializing in racial equity and bias reduction to stay informed about new research and methodologies. Okay, so if you scroll down now to glossary, I have bias. I can't believe I missed that before, but I added this. Bias is a tendency, inclination, or prejudice toward or against something or someone. It can be positive or negative and often results from personal experiences, cultural conditioning, or societal influences. In the context of law enforcement, bias refers to preconceived notions or attitudes about individuals or groups based on characteristics such as race, ethnicity, gender, age, religion, sexual orientation, or disability. Bias can be explicit, where individuals are aware of their prejudices, or implicit, where attitudes and stereotypes operate unconsciously and influence behavior without the individual's conscious awareness.
Are there any
Implicit bias.
questions?
Yep, sorry, I'll pause there.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any questions or comments on that section?
Yeah, I had a comment about that right after characteristics. I think it's not only the characteristics of a person, how tall they are, how fast they are, what their complexion happens to be, if they speak loud or speak softly, but it's also about their morality. When we have biases about people, we really make judgments about their morality, if they're evil or bad or, you know, thieves or criminals and all that. So it's a bit more than characteristics. Characteristics is just, as I see it, and as I read, you guys can disagree with me, but I see a characteristic as just a description of an individual. But when we have biases, we have judgments about a person's moral. You know, this person is a church member. This is a good church member. This person is a thief, prostitute,
Right.
you know, a dope dealer, a gangbanger, and all that speaks to their morality. So I think somehow we ought to put characteristics and morality in there.
Anybody, that's an excellent observation. Lieutenant, you good with that?
I am. I will make those changes. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else for?
No. You can move on to the next section. Vice Chair has a comment.
No, I'm fine. Thank you. We can move on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, implicit bias. Implicit bias refers to the attitudes or stereotypes that affect one's understanding, actions, and decisions in an unconscious manner. These biases, which encompass favorable and unfavorable assessments, are activated involuntarily and without an individual's awareness or intentional control. Implicit biases are shaped by personal experiences and cultural conditioning and can influence behavior and decision-making, even when individuals endorse egalitarian, I probably will change that, values and beliefs, just because I don't want to have a definition for that. Understanding implicit bias is crucial in preventing bias-based policing.
Pretty clear to me. Does anybody else have a comment? Want to add something? Okay, keep going.
Okay, lastly, procedural justice. Procedural justice refers to the idea of fairness in the processes that resolve disputes and allocate resources. It emphasizes the way police and other legal authorities interact with the public and how the characteristics of those interactions shape the public's view of the police, their willingness to obey the law, and actual crime rates. It focuses on the importance of transparency, neutrality, respect, and trustworthiness in all interactions between officers and the public. Procedural justice aims to ensure that individuals feel their concerns are heard and taken seriously, regardless of the outcome of the encounter. Yep. Those are the only changes since the last time I reviewed this.
Okay.
Okay, and then Micah, please, if you could pull up the body of my email, I copied and pasted in there, and those are the examples, the new examples I provided. I was going back and forth of whether I should include it in the policy, because in the policy I have 2 examples of racial profiling. These are, we could add them to the lesson plan. I'm sorry, to the policy, but instead I put them in the lesson plan to discuss, and I thought of using that as a learning activity in the instruction.
Real quick, Lieutenant Hubbard, let me just jump in before we move on. One thing I am going to kind of review, try to wrap my mind around and wordsmith a bit around the implicit bias piece on those definitions is how we tie in and really name, because something, and again, I'm having a hard time articulating this right now, but I guess what I'm trying to get to is, one of the things around the bias training is acknowledging that we all have biases, right? That whether it's implicit or explicit, right? And for me, there's got to be something in the procedural justice definition that kind of reverts back to that bias and acknowledges that even when those biases creep in, procedural justice supersedes that. It tells you, hey, I might have something, or something might be telling me something about this person. I'm gonna keep that to myself and treat this person fairly. Like, you have to like intentionally almost combat your own biases to be able to make sure the customer service is neutral and fair and equitable across the board. And that's one thing that's really, really important to me, because, you know, in some of my work working with homicide families, I've seen how investigators treat a mother in an affluent neighborhood versus a mother in the flatlands. And they have to understand that, man, there might be something creeping in. I might have a bias that tells me, hey, that person lived by the sword and they died by the sword. Oh, well, tough luck, right? But I'm going to treat that mother the exact same way as I would have treated a mother of an innocent victim that got robbed in Montclair, right?
Right.
And because that level of customer service and professionalism has to be, and again, this is the part that I'm trying to figure out a way to wordsmith without being so long-winded, right? Is figuring out, like, how do we really call and name that bias that's natural in all of us, that I'm sure the test the quiz will review a little bit, right? And then from a professional standpoint, work to deconstruct that and then present yourself in the most neutral, most equitable way possible, how you treat all human beings across the board and all citizens in City Hall. So
right. And to your point, and it's an excellent one, you know, it's the consistency in execution. You know, I mean, I always say to myself, I want the Oakland Police Department to be what we knew Nordstrom's customer service levels were, right? We don't reference Nordstrom much because they're not here anymore. But the point is still the same. I remember, you know, for those of you who've seen Beverly Hills Cop, way back when, and Sam Jackson, when he met with first Beverly Hills Cop, who was very kind and engaging and listening, this and the other, he said, you know, I can't trust an officer that, you know, won't have a beef hot dog or something like that. There was certain indices that he decided were just not going to work on the team that he was putting together, because it was too nice. And it's like, what's wrong with being customer service like?
Yeah.
So, excellent point, Vice Chair.
Yeah, thank you. I'll add that. Thank you for that. Okay.
Are we at the examples? I had a comment about the examples.
We are at the examples, yes.
Okay, I'm not settled on what I'm about to say, because
Watch out.
You can go both ways on this. And I just want to hear what the response are. You know, each one of these examples, I have a recollection of them. You know, I remember the Henry Louis Gates in his house issue, of course, the Starbucks issue with the two guys that got arrested and all of that. I'm asking, would it be better if we're teaching Oakland officers to use Oakland examples? So we know these are here that are presented are good, but they're national examples. But we want a cultural change here in Oakland. So would it be, I think it would be positive.
More impactful.
Yeah, to use our examples where we had our biases and where we need to change. Otherwise, people deflect. Oh, that was Philadelphia. That wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that happened in the South. You know, all the racial happened. Everything happened in the South. I'm from the North. No.
I think your point is well taken, and I'd like it to be a both and, because there are some issues that people are aware of, don't really remember the specifics. They just know some big name person or some place shut down, you know, whatever it is. And because Oakland police officers have to police Oakland residents, when only 9% of these officers actually live in Oakland, it's extremely important to access their knowledge base and provide communicative examples that they can one, recognize and two, relate to, or they are the learnings of what's happened on the streets in Oakland, that you don't need to go to San Francisco or Seattle or the South or anywhere else, because you can still get examples that are absolutely critical right here.
That's cost
So,
our community a large amount of money
and trauma.
because of their
Yes,
behavior. And so
absolutely.
this is what we want to change. We have the problem. This is not a
Right.
sickness or a malady that's in Philadelphia. It's here.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if you're going to use 8 examples, at least 4 of them ought to be OPD cases.
And maybe make, I mean, is 8 examples enough? Should we have 10? And then have 5 be Oakland and 5 be around across the country? I
Yeah.
don't know.
I don't either, but that makes sense, because 5 would mean across the country. This is not just an Oakland problem. This is a law enforcement problem.
Yes.
But we have to deal with it here, and this is what this actually happened here, and this is actually what we want changed.
Yes.
So
Lieutenant?
5.
Yeah, no disagreement here. When I came, or as I came across these examples, it was important for me to have citations with them, to know they're not just, Brian Hubbard making these up. So I certainly would love to have Oakland examples. I just need to do a little bit more research. I think my first thought is, of course, reading Darwin von Graham's and Ollie Winston's book, and going through that and pulling out examples, but I'll do some more research. And if you all come across anything, please send it my way.
Okay.
But if you don't mind, I like to keep these 8 just because there are good references to go with it. And example number 4, there is the barbecue at the Oakland Park incident that we're all aware of in 2018.
Are we all aware of it? Because we may need to be reminded.
Sure. I mean, I'll go ahead and read it. I know the font's pretty small here. I had to put up on a different
Please.
screen here, but on April 29th, 2018, a white woman called the police on a black family having a barbecue in a public park in Oakland. She
The
claimed
Karen situation.
they
Mary.
were
Mhm.
using the wrong type of grill. The police detained and questioned the family for an hour, ultimately making no arrests. This incident, where police responded to a call based solely on the family's race and activity in a public space, showcased racial profiling. The family's legal right to be in the park and use the grill should have precluded police involvement.
Yep. Good one. I call it the Karen incident.
Yeah.
So that's why I wasn't quite sure what you were talking about when you said barbecue.
Yeah.
But that's an excellent one.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only Oakland based one. The one that precedes that, I have April 12, 2018, 2 African-American men were arrested at a Starbucks in Philadelphia while waiting for a business associate. They were denied bathroom access because they hadn't made a purchase. When they didn't leave, the manager called the police, who arrested them. The men later were released and charges were dropped. Detaining individuals based on their race and perceived noncompliance with store policies without any criminal activity constitutes racial profiling. So what I was thinking of doing with these, by the way, is, as you'll see in my bullet there, this could be a great learning activity. I was thinking of using these and breaking the class up into groups and having them read the entire incident, so it'd be much more detailed, and having them teach it back to the class with the group discussion over whether it was racial profiling, why, what could have been done to prevent this, etc. So have more of a teach back. I thought that would have been a good learning activity here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I might add, and I will ask Commissioner Riles if it's okay, but I think that his example, his own experience, personal experience, where he was arrested and profiled, or the city itself called the police because it was said that he was on a tirade or whatever. But the point is that even that could have or should have been differently approached. He was a senior And as I understand it, as the police came up to him and he was leaving or he was coming, I think he was leaving. I believe that police officer tripped him, but then he was also arrested. And there was basically a determination by the police that he was not going to be able to do what it was he was trying to do, which was get a permit or something. It may be too close to home, but it happened in Oakland. He was a former city council member, elected public servant, and is now a commissioner. So it may be a good example. It may not. I will call him and ask him if it's okay to use it.
Sure.
That's what I was alluding to. That
Oh,
that these kind of cases have happened, and no matter who you are, it can happen to you, and I would suggest the Bawapa incident that happened
on the train to Napa.
No, it was on 39th Street. They were having a meeting, a Bawapa meeting, and Bawapa's a Black Woman for Political Action. And at the time, Mary King was there. I think Barbara Lee was in the meeting, and Desi Woods Jones, who was on the city council, was in the meeting. And I'm blanking on his name. Oh my God.
Was it an elected or?
No, this brother was a judge, a lawyer, and went back to Howard University, ran Howard University Law School. His son is now an elected official. Nevertheless, they were having a presentation. You know, I'm embarrassed. They were having a presentation by a group of young people that he had mentored. So these were high schoolers, and somebody called in and said there was a gang on this porch, and but it was the Bawapa office. And so of course they called Oakland police, had everybody down at gunpoint, spread and everything. And of course Desi Woods Jones came out and Barbara Lee came out, but they still you know, had that. And so the argument was, we got a call. You know, we got a call that there were some dangerous people on the porch. And these were 10th and 11th graders who were making a presentation to gain scholarships from Bawapa.
Wow.
So, yeah. And so that actually happened.
Well, and there's another one that is cited it hits real close to home, cited in the Darwin Bond Graham book, that Drennan Lindsay, who was at the site where Mixon, I can't remember his first name,
Yes.
killed the 4 officers.
Yes.
And she told her boss where this gunman was, and they didn't listen to her.
Yeah.
And that's why they sent those 2 in that basically sent, you know, to be assassinated. The officer was of a different racial background, perhaps decided from a biased perspective, she couldn't know, wouldn't be appropriate to have made an assessment or strategic or what have you. But that is where officers have inappropriately, I think later they tried to pin it on her that was why there was problem. But, you know, they did not arrest her, but she was shamed. And part of that had to be, you know, her being a female and being a Black.
And that case is in the
In the book.
Come out of
Yep.
next book, yeah.
Yep. And so, you know, I actually like that we mostly have, you know, community, but we have got internal bias in OPD, and it's practiced regularly. And that's horrible. Lieutenant, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm sorry, my head is spinning because I have different screens up where I'm writing notes, and so I don't forget this.
No worries.
I will look through those. I thank you for those 2 examples. and I will add to the list. Yep.
Yeah.
Chair, didn't we recently sustain an allegation of racial profiling? And it was like the first time
Yes.
in like 20 years or something like that. Would that be too soon?
Uh, it was very recent. It was the end of last year, I believe. And it's see what we're here.
You don't want to single out active cops either, though, right? I mean, there's just a balance. I was just thinking of like, oh, that just happened. Like that's something that's
Well,
contemporary. But
well, it is contemporary, but the only issue is it hasn't completed its process. It could be recalled. And we can
that's where
talk
you guys
about
all
that
look at me and be
offline.
like, Vice Chair, too soon, too soon, too soon.
No, it's a good suggestion. The difference is part of the reason we're here is because I believe that the inadequacy of the policy never really stood a chance to be enforced. And I don't have all the details of that particular incident, but I am told that, well, it's been inferred that there is still room based upon the way the investigation was done or how they determined your decisions. It is the conundrum that is, Skelly and all that. You always have so many different steps to go through or hoops to jump through in order to have a circumstance play out and there's a real period on the decision as opposed to a comma. But it's good thinking.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. The only other suggestion I would offer, Lieutenant Hubbard, is, with Oakland having such a big, newcomer Latino Spanish speaking population as well, I'm wondering if there's any big national kind of headline grabbing incidents that involve Latino Spanish speaking things where like there was language access barriers or issues that came up in that regard. Would be great to throw in as well, so that we're have a little bit more diversified in our examples. Although, just in trying to just jog my own brain and recollection and news stories, I'm like, there's not as many, so it might take a little bit more research. I'm happy to kind of look into some and maybe send some your way.
Yep.
But it makes a lot of sense because there are more than 100 languages spoken just inside Oakland. And, the Latino population is probably the highest rate of, representatives that speak Spanish. And so therefore, it makes sense to highlight that, as opposed to someone that, doesn't speak Mandarin or whatever. So I like that a lot. Obviously, all the other examples are around Blacks. And we are the two biggest populations of a minority population.
Nope, I hear you.
What did you say, Lieutenant Hubbard?
I'm good. I know I appreciate the suggestion. I will definitely look into that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So those are the big changes I made since we last met. What I like to do, just for the sake of time, because I do want to send this out, and I will do it tonight. I'll send it to everyone, including the chief and Dr. Eberhard, is I will make a note that some things like we discussed tonight will be updated.
Yeah.
And so they might get another version within the next couple weeks, but for the most part, they have plenty of reading to do and review.
Yes. Have we handled all of the updates? Does this conclude it, or is there more for us to do?
That's it. I mean, I did make some spelling grammatical changes. I did update the training manual to include some references that weren't in the last one. And then I did put a disclaimer in there. Just, I want to make sure that Dr. Eberhard gets 100% full credit for that entire lesson plan because it's really coming from her. I just wrote it in my own words, but I did put that in there. But that pretty much takes care of all the major updates since we last met.
Chair Emeritus,
Yes.
some of the community members asked for a doc to be put in chat for the quiz, and that is there, so people can access it now.
Thank you very much. At this point, I want to ask the pleasure of the ad hoc. It almost sounds like there isn't more for us to do unless you have some suggestions. And we can reclaim your time. My apologies that I didn't spend or wasn't as strategic between the last meeting and this meeting. Oftentimes I speak with Lieutenant Hubbard, and we send out advanced stuff or shift things, and I just didn't. So what is the pleasure of the group?
I think we follow your plan. You know, we come back on the 21st and go forward.
Okay. And thank you. What, Vice Chair, you good with that as well? Okay, I'm going to take silence as permission.
Sorry, Ken, if I'm on mute, I was giving you the thumbs up. Yeah,
Okay,
that sounds
thank
good. Now
you.
give some time to fully review the last documents, last versions.
Exactly. And what I believe, if our meeting is on the 21st, Lieutenant, we might ask for their review and comments by the 17th. And that way, even if they're a day or two late, they can come out to the ad hoc so that we will have enough time to both digest the additions as well as in the entire context of the training manual.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well,
Before we cut off,
yes.
it was bothering me because I should have never forgotten this name. Such a great name. It was Henry Ramsey. Henry and
yes.
his son Henry Ramsey Jr.
Yes.
Was the one who put together this young people advocate protection and mentorship type program, and he was bringing them to BWOPA to make a presentation to gain scholarship money for them to go to college. And some citizen thought they would, because they were standing on the porch, that they were a gang, and OPD came out, guns out, hands down, in the street on 39th Street and everything. Out comes Mary King, out comes Barbara Lee, out comes Desi Woods Jones, all elected Black women officials, and meant nothing. Nobody calmed down, nothing. Everybody got handcuffed. It was a huge thing, and that's definitely implicit bias.
Absolutely, and I think the real issue is just because it's reported that way.
Right. That's just the beginning of the investigation.
The query, as opposed to guns blaze like you're going to shoot somebody.
Right.
And that's important to know how it is that you respond, right? Because I've heard far too many people, report something as stolen that's not really stolen, or presume that because it's been parked in a certain section of town that it was done by that neighborhood or that group that might be most prominent there. We have way too many examples. But I'm really glad that we have kind of focused in on Oakland in terms of the predominant number of questions. My apologies to the public listening in, because we normally fill up to 7:30 very easily. But it also sounds like everybody has some catching up to do so that we can hopefully finalize our training plan. And then our plan is to send a copy of all of our documents to post, as well as to the Department of Justice. And I think that as much bias is going on in the country today, that they would do well to see an updated, very crisp series of examples that unfortunately happen all too often in Oakland and across the country. So are there any other questions? Will the documents be made available to the Oakland public? Yeah, well, we have reviewed them in our meetings. So if you go to the website, oh wait, Micah, is that just voice recording?
Yes, it's just voice recording. But if
Okay.
you want, I can put, I just wasn't sure which documents we want to have on there or not.
Sure. So let's put draft across all of them.
Okay.
And the cultural accountability statement,
Mm-hmm.
the actual policy,
Mm-hmm.
and then the training manual, which is, still a work in progress, but absolutely. Just put
Okay.
draft across the top. Because I know it's hard to engage when you can't see.
No worries. I will do that.
Appreciate that. Let's see, today is Wednesday. Can you have that done by Friday, or is that too quick?
I could have it done by Monday.
Okay,
Mhm.
so to our listening public, if you check Monday, let's say by end of business.
Perfect.
Thank you very, very much. So have a good evening. You all get 40 or so minutes back, and you can go enjoy this beautiful weather or take a nap or just do something else. Thank you so
Chair
much.
Emeritus, I would
Yes.
like to just let the public know that when you're looking for it, you're going to go to the website where our ad hocs are. And when you search racial profiling, you'll click that and there'll be links to those documents when they're available.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Micah. Okay, thank you again, and we will see you same bat channel, 6 p.m. to 7:30, August 21st. Be safe.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.